Somewhere in the mountains of Sardinia, there are men in their 90s walking 5 miles a day. In a tiny Greek island called Ikaria, people forget to die, literally. Their rates of dementia are a fraction of the rest of Europe's. And in Okinawa, Japan, women in their hundreds tend their gardens, cook their own meals, and gather every single day with their closest friends. Friends they've had for over 70 years. These aren't fairy tales, these are real, documented places, verified by demographers, epidemiologists, and researchers from the National Geographic Society and the National Institute on Aging. They're called the Blue Zones. And here's the most important thing the researchers found. Genetics only accounts for about 20 to 30% of how long you live. The rest, 70 to 80%, comes down to how you live, what you eat, who you surround yourself with, and what gets you out of bed in the morning. Today, we're going inside the Blue Zones to uncover the 5 habits that almost every centenarian on Earth has in common. And the last one, habit number 5, is probably the one nobody talks about enough. Let's go. Before we get into the habits, let's quickly set the scene, because understanding where these people live makes the habits make a lot more sense. There are 5 confirmed blue zones in the world. Sardinia, Italy. Specifically, the mountainous Nuoro province has the highest concentration of male centenarians on the planet. Men here outlive men almost everywhere else on Earth. Okinawa, Japan, home to the world's longest-lived women. For much of the 20th century, Okinawa had 7 times more centenarians per capita than the rest of Japan. Ikaria, Greece, a small island in the Aegean Sea with some of the world's lowest rates of middle-age mortality and dementia. Nicoya Peninsula, Costa Rica, a region where men have an exceptionally high chance of reaching age 90, with lower rates of cardiovascular disease than almost anywhere in the Americas. Loma Linda, California, a community of Seventh-day Adventists who, on average, live 10 extra healthy years compared to the average American. 5 places, scattered across the globe, different cultures, different foods, different languages. And yet, the researchers found the same handful of habits running through all of them like a thread. Harvard's Dr. Walter Willett, professor of epidemiology and nutrition, put it simply: people in blue zones are better at practicing the behaviors associated with a healthier, longer life. So what are those behaviors? Here are the 5 that matter most. Habit number 1. And it's going to immediately challenge everything you've been told about exercise. People in blue zones don't go to the gym. They don't have structured workout routines. They don't own Pelotons. They don't do HIIT sessions. What they do instead is live in environments that make movement unavoidable. Sardinian shepherds walk miles of steep mountain terrain every single day, just as part of their job. Okinawan women garden for hours, squatting and standing hundreds of times in a single afternoon, naturally working every major muscle group without ever thinking about it as exercise. Ikarians walk to their neighbors' houses. They do their own housework. They tend their own land. The science here is compelling. Research shows that it's not intense, concentrated exercise that predicts longevity. It's consistent, low-intensity movement throughout the day. Sitting for extended periods has been linked to increased risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and early death, even in people who do formally exercise. What Blue Zone residents do instinctively is break up sedentary time constantly. What you can take from this: you don't need to run marathons. What you need is to move more, and more often. Take the stairs. Walk instead of drive where you can. Garden. Cook from scratch. It involves more standing and movement than you might think. If you work at a desk, set a timer to stand and move every 30 to 45 minutes. The goal isn't peak athletic performance. The goal is a body that stays functional and strong at 90. Habit number 2 is about food, but not in the way most diet culture talks about it. Blue Zone residents don't follow a strict diet. They don't count macros. They don't have cheat days. They simply eat food that their grandparents would recognize, grown close to where they live. Across all 5 blue zones, the diet is approximately 95% plant-based. Beans, lentils, whole grains, vegetables, nuts, and fruit make up the vast majority of what they eat. Meat is consumed, but on average only about 5 times a month, in small portions of 3 to 4 ounces. In Sardinia, the staple is minestrone, a thick soup of whatever vegetables and legumes are in season. In Okinawa, it's sweet potatoes, tofu, and bitter melon. In Ikaria, it's the classic Mediterranean diet: olive oil, wild greens, pulses, and fish. But here's the dietary habit that often gets overlooked, and it might be the most powerful of all. In Okinawa, people practice something called harahachibu, a Confucian saying they recite before meals that roughly translates to, eat until you are 80% full. They stop eating before they feel stuffed. It takes about 20 minutes for the brain to register fullness. Render strobebermats, benats. So eating slowly and stopping early means consistently consuming fewer calories without ever feeling deprived. Research over a 25-year period in monkeys found that eating 30% fewer calories than normal was associated with a significantly longer life. Okinawans may have stumbled onto this principle centuries ago, not through science, but through culture. What you can take from this: put more beans, lentils, and vegetables on your plate. Eat slowly. Put your fork down between bites. Stop before you feel completely full. These aren't dramatic lifestyle changes, but done consistently, the research suggests they are among the most powerful things you can do for your longevity. Habit number 3 is the one that surprises people the most, because it has nothing to do with food or movement. It's purpose. In Okinawa, they call it ikigai. In Nicoya, Costa Rica, it's called plan de vida, your plan for life. In both cases, it means having a clear sense of why you matter, why you're needed, and why today is worth showing up for. Researchers studying blue zone populations found that this sense of purpose isn't just a nice feeling, it's measurable in health outcomes. Studies have linked having a strong sense of purpose to a reduced risk of heart attack, stroke, and death. A large research project tracking older adults found that those with a clear sense of purpose lived significantly longer than those without one. In these communities, older people don't retire and disengage. They remain connected to their families, their gardens, their villages, their faith communities. They are needed. They know it. And that knowing appears to be quite literally life-extending. Harvard researchers noted that blue zone lifestyles have remained similar to how people across many cultures lived centuries ago, before retirement, before isolation in care homes, before the modern disconnection of elderly people from community life. What you can take from this: ask yourself, what gets you out of bed in the morning? If the answer is unclear, it's worth spending time on it. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It can be your garden, your grandchildren, your craft, your community. The research suggests that whatever it is, having it and nurturing it adds years to your life. Habit number 4, and this one is about stress, which is something every single one of us carries in amounts that the people of Ikaria, Sardinia, and Okinawa simply do not. Chronic stress is one of the most damaging things you can do to your body long term. It raises cortisol, causes systemic inflammation, damages the gut microbiome, shortens telomeres, the protective caps on your DNA, and accelerates the aging process at a cellular level. People in blue zones are not immune to stress, but they have built-in, culturally embedded stress relief practices that they do every single day, without thinking of them as wellness habits. In Sardinia, it's the evening passeggiata, a slow, social walk through the village with family and neighbors. In Loma Linda, it's the Sabbath, a 24-hour weekly pause from work and commerce. In Ikaria, it's the afternoon nap, taken at least 5 days a week, which studies show reduces cardiovascular mortality by around 37% in working men. And across all 5 blue zones, it's long, slow, communal meals, where eating is never rushed, and the table is a place of connection, not just refueling. What you can take from this: you don't need to move to Sardinia to manage stress, but you do need to build genuine downtime into your life, deliberately, regularly, and without guilt. A daily walk, a weekly full rest day, 10 minutes of quiet in the morning before the phone goes on. The research strongly suggests that these small daily rituals, compounded over decades, are among the most powerful longevity tools available. And here we are. Habit number 5. The one I promised at the start, the one nobody talks about enough. It's connection. Not the kind you get from social media, not your follower count. Real, physical, consistent human connection. With family, with friends, and with community. In Okinawa, elderly women belong to something called a moai, a group of 5 friends, typically formed in childhood, who commit to each other for life. They meet regularly, support each other financially in times of need, and provide emotional accountability. Studies have tracked these moai groups and found they are among the most powerful predictors of how long Okinawan women live. In Sardinia, multi-generational households are the norm, where grandparents live with their children and grandchildren, remaining active participants in family life, rather than being removed from it. Research has shown that grandparents who regularly care for their grandchildren have a significantly higher chance of living longer. In Loma Linda, membership in a faith community, gathering weekly, sharing values, supporting one another, adds measurably to life expectancy. Multiple studies have found that regular attendance at religious services is associated with lower rates of depression, lower cortisol, and reduced risk of death. And on the flip side, the data on loneliness and isolation is stark. Social isolation has been found to be as damaging to health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It raises the risk of cardiovascular disease, dementia, depression, and early death. The people of the blue zones haven't built apps to stay connected. They've built their lives around each other, and science suggests it may be the single most important thing they do. What you can take from this: invest in your relationships as if your life depends on them. Okinawan Rester de Japran Morinstanen Hamain Nanji Bedown Zuberlein Sidawaigan Sindam Ruan Sidaumain Evidence increasingly suggests it does. Call the friend you've been meaning to call, have people round for dinner, join something, a club, a faith community, a running group, anything that puts you in regular contact with people who matter to you. Longevity, it turns out, is not a solo sport. So there you have it, the 5 habits that the longest-lived people on Earth have in common. None of these require expensive supplements, none of them require a gym membership or a personal trainer. They don't involve biohacking technology or biological age tests or anything you need to buy. What they require is intention and consistency, and perhaps most of all, a willingness to look at what the happiest, longest-lived people on Earth are actually doing, and start doing a little more of it yourself. Dr. Walter Willett of Harvard put it best: people in blue zones are simply better at practicing what we already know leads to a longer, healthier life. The knowledge isn't new, we just need to actually live it. If this video made you think about any of these habits differently, share it with someone you love. Because as we just learned, putting your people first is literally one of the best things you can do for your health. And if you want to go deeper on longevity, I've got a full video coming up on the science of biological aging, and specifically what you can do right now to slow it down. Until then, take care of yourself, and take care of your people.